Okay, so today we're going to start with Module 5, which begins the unit on supply and demand. Now, couple things. Supply and demand is microeconomics. That doesn't mean it's not important. What an understanding of supply and demand will do is will help you understand the mechanics of the graphs and how equilibrium works, how shifts work, and things like that. So while we're probably not going to come back to supply and demand per se over the course of the year, the mechanics of what we do here are very important. Not to mention that just supply and demand is an extremely important concept. It's a simple concept, but it really explains a lot and helps you really understand, the thinking of a lot of economists and decision making and so on. So we're going to go ahead and get started here with introduction to the model, and then we'll specifically talk about demand. Then we'll move to supply, then we'll put them together. Okay, so supply and demand, or demand. So the supply and demand model has 5 parts to it. Okay, the first important thing about the supply and demand model is the market must be competitive, meaning there must be a variety of buyers and sellers who are competing for buyers competing with each other to get a good or service, and sellers competing with each other to see who can sell the most. So we have the demand curve, the supply curve. There are factors that will cause each of those to shift. We have equilibrium, both an equilibrium price and an equilibrium quantity, as well as now changes in the equilibrium. And we'll go through all of that, over the course of the next week or so. So the first real important thing is the law of demand. Okay, the law of demand says when the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down, and when the price goes down, the quantity demanded goes up. Okay, now just think about that for a minute. Hopefully, all of you are saying, "Gosh, this makes a ton of sense," right? When something is more expensive, it's not like you run out to the store and say, "Let me go get this." When something's expensive, you say to yourself, maybe I don't want to get this. Maybe I want to wait, get something else, and so on. You'll also notice with these arrows here that one goes one way, one goes the other, right? This tells us that the law of demand has an inverse relationship. Price and quantity demanded are inversely related, and this is an important idea. Now, there's 3 reasons for the law of demand, okay? The first reason for the law of demand having an inverse relationship is something known as diminishing marginal utility. Okay, this is something that can be explained in a number of ways. Think about you've just gone on a jog, or you've gone to the gym and you're working out. You're hot, you're tired. Think about that first sip of water you take after your workout. Think about how good that feels, right? It's the best. Then you take that second sip, and while it's still refreshing, it's not quite as good as that first sip, okay? And so on down the line. Think about your favorite meal, right? You're going out to dinner for your favorite meal. That first bite is amazing. The second bite is still good, but it's not as satisfying as that first bite. So at high prices, we're willing to pay a little bit, but as the price goes up, our enjoyment goes down, and so we're willing to pay less. That's one reason why we have this inverse downward sloping demand curve. The second is something known as the income effect, right? When prices are cheaper, you have more purchasing power. When the price of something gets cut in half, instead of buying 1, you can now buy 2. Your money can go a longer way, right? And so you feel like you are making more money. And so that's another reason for the law of demand. At lower prices, we tend to buy more. And then finally, we have something called the substitution effect. And again, this is something you guys should say to yourself, oh gosh, this makes sense. If you go to the store and you're looking to get something for a barbecue, and all of a sudden that you see that, chicken is twice the price of hamburgers, you're going to say, well, I like chicken, but that's too expensive. I'm going to substitute hamburgers. And so as prices go down or prices go up, we tend to shift away to cheaper goods. And so as prices go up, we tend to demand less. Okay? So just kind of be aware of those. It's not something you're going to see a lot, but it's something that you should definitely think about. So now, a demand schedule. Okay? A demand schedule shows how much consumers are willing and able to buy of a particular product during a specified period of time, right? Willing and able is an important, okay? If you're not willing to buy something, if you're not able to buy something, right, demand doesn't exist. So willing and able is a key phrase. So let's take a look at this demand schedule. We're talking about prices of soda and the quantity demanded per week. And you'll notice when soda's $5, people are willing to buy 50 sodas per week. And then as the price goes to $4, they're willing to buy 100, and so on till we get to the lowest price of $1, and 250 sodas are demanded. Okay. In order for this to be meaningful, we need to associate a period of time with it. Here it's a week, it could be a day, it could be a month, whatever. And then finally, this shows us the law of demand, right? It shows us this inverse relationship. As the price goes up from goes down from $5 to $1, the quantity demanded goes from 50 sodas to 250 sodas, okay? It's important that we refer to this as quantity demanded, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, okay? But this is the law of demand in a schedule, what's known as a demand schedule. All right? Now, let's look at the demand schedule and move that over to the demand curve. So I'm going to put up the same demand schedule, and I want you to take a minute, pause the video, and plot out these points on a demand curve. Now, as you do this, I want to make sure that you label correctly. This is an important thing as we move through the course. Correct labels are important. You get credit for them. Incorrect labels will make you lose credit, okay? So along the vertical axis, we put price, could be a dollar sign, and along the horizontal axis, we put quantity. So take a minute, pause the video, go ahead and sketch out a demand curve. Okay, so let's take a look at this. You have price along the vertical axis, quantity demanded along the horizontal axis, and at a price of $5, you should have put a point at 50 sodas. At $4, 100, $3, 150, $2, 200, $1, 250, and here we have our demand curve. Once again, you'll notice the inverse relationship, the downward slope, and this graphically illustrates the law of demand. As the price goes down, the quantity demanded goes up, and as the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. Okay? Your demand curve will always, always, always have a downward slope to it. Now, let's look a little bit more at the demand curve here. Again, the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. And it's important that you refer to it as quantity demanded, as I'll talk about in a few minutes. Downward slope, lower quantity at higher prices, and higher quantity at lower prices. Always, always downward sloping. And so you can see when the price falls from $3 to $2, the quantity demanded increases from 150 to 200. And the other thing that's important to remember that I mentioned here is that we're kind of eliminating all of these other factors. It's something economists call ceteris paribus, right? There are obviously a lot of factors that go into determining whether or not we buy soda, okay? I don't want you to think about, well, I don't drink soda. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about, well, is it Coke or Pepsi? We're just saying soda, okay? And this is something economists do because, maybe you know this from math. One variable is easier than 2, 3, 4, 5 variables. And so we're looking at only the relationship between price and quantity demanded. In a minute here, we're going to look at other factors, and we're going to look at those, okay? But right now, we're looking at two things: the price of soda and how much soda people want to buy. So the demand curve will also shift. It doesn't just slope downward, but it can move to the right or to the left, okay? Anytime the demand curve shifts, moves right or to the left, we say this is a change in demand, okay? And again, it might sound confusing. As we work through this, I think you'll see that, okay, this makes a lot of sense. So just kind of bear with us here. Anything that shifts the curve is known as a change in demand. If we have an increase in demand, the curve will shift to the right. And if we have a decrease in demand, the entire curve will shift to the left. Okay? And so now we're going to talk about what are some of these things besides price that have an effect on our demand for a product. Okay? So the first thing that we're talking about is a change in the number of buyers. Right? This is something that should make a whole lot of sense to you. Okay? Think about less children being born. If there's less children being born, there's going to be less cribs, less toys, less diapers, less of everything. Why? Because there's less parents. You can look at the flip side of that. Think about the city we live in, Miami. Wintertime is the time when everybody likes to come down to Miami. So what happens to the demand for hotel rooms, dinner, tourist attractions, etc.? People aren't buying these things because the price has changed. There's more of these things being purchased because there's more people buying them, okay? So increase in the number of buyers increases demand. Decrease in the number of buyers decreases demand. Changes in income. Again, this should make a whole lot of sense to you. As you make more money, you're going to buy more normal goods. As you make less money, you will buy less normal goods, and you will buy more inferior goods. What's a normal good? What's an inferior good? A normal good are the goods that you buy all the time. When things are going well, you buy these goods. Inferior goods are goods that you buy when you have less money, that you'd rather not buy, but you're forced to because of your situation, okay? So, maybe you like to drink craft beer. Well, not you, okay? Maybe I like to drink craft beer. But if I run into a difficult time or something, maybe I'm not going to buy craft beer. I'm going to buy Budweiser or something like that. So for me, Budweiser would be an inferior good. When my income goes down, my demand for Budweiser goes up. Once my income goes back up, then I'm going to go back to the craft beer. Next, change in consumer expectations. Okay? What you expect has an effect on what you purchase. Okay? If I expect coffee prices to go up in the future, am I going to want to buy those? Does the law of demand say I'm going to want to buy those in the future? No. So what am I going to try to do? I'm going to buy those now. Okay? So what I expect to happen in the future is going to affect my current demand. Okay? If I think the price of something is going to go down in the future, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to buy it now. So my current demand is going to go down. This is what we mean by a change in consumer expectations. Next, change in the prices of related goods. There are two types of related goods. There are complementary goods and there are substitute goods. Okay? If plane tickets get cheaper, the law of demand says what? I'm going to buy more plane tickets. So what's going to happen to my demand for taking the bus or taking the train? It's going to go down. Plane tickets and bus tickets are substitute goods. You go to the store to buy juice, and you want orange juice, but you realize apple juice is on sale. The fact that orange juice is more expensive is going to increase your demand for its substitute apple juice. Again, we're not thinking about, do I like apple juice? We're cutting all that stuff to the side, ceteris paribus, and just looking at the effect of related goods. Those are substitute goods, goods that are used in place of one another. We also have complementary goods. Okay? If the price of DVD players goes down, the law of demand says what? You're going to buy more DVD players. Well, now that I have a DVD player, what do I need to do? I need to buy more DVDs. DVD players and DVD movies go hand in hand. They complement each other. So complementary goods are goods that are used with each other, right? And so that's the next one. And then the last one is I like to refer to as tastes and preferences. Sometimes we just want to have a particular good or service, okay? So everyone knows that exercising is good for us. It helps our body. People say it helps our brain even, right? So with the popularity of exercise, people are going to start buying more jogging shoes, yoga pants, yoga mats, maybe heart rate monitors, whatever, okay? Are people buying these things because the price is changing? No. They're buying them because all of a sudden they have a preference for exercises. So when things become popular, demand tends to rise. When things become less popular, demand will tend to fall. And this is tastes and preferences. Okay? So again, it's going to be important to know all 5 of these. We will work through examples. We'll talk about them. You don't need to know them all right this second, but they are important to understand. So, now, let's talk about a change in demand versus a change in quantity demanded one more time just to make sure you understand. When you move along the curve, for example, here from point A to point B, it is referred to as a change in the quantity demanded, and price is the variable that's changing. Okay? So, along the curve, price is the variable, it's a change in quantity demanded. When you move the entire curve, when you shift it to the left and to the right, this is known as a change in demand. And at every price level, demand has changed. And this shifts the entire curve. And it's a factor other than price. Right? Extremely, extremely important to understand. Okay? And that's it. We will go over this tomorrow. Please remember, any questions, please ask.